Morning all, and welcome to Tamaki Makaurau, the beautiful city of Auckland. I did have a 12-page speech to read out, which is there, but I do speak too fast, so I thought I'd just do something short and sharp, keep it nice and simple. But firstly, morning and welcome to all of you. It's great to see such a fantastic turnout to the beautiful city of Auckland and to New Zealand, and we hope you get a chance to travel around for those that are visiting the country. As you can see, I'm a Kiwi from my accent. And on behalf of St John and Wellington Free, we particularly welcome you to the conference. I'd like to acknowledge and extend a special welcome to some particular guests we have here. Firstly, the Association of Chief Executive, ACE. I think Martin's here somewhere, so welcome Martin and welcome to ACE. Paramedic Chiefs of Canada, the International Roundtable of Community Paramedicine, Australia's National Council of Fire and Emergency Services, AFAC, FENS, Fire and Emergency New Zealand, the Australia-New Zealand College of Paramedicine, and Paramedics Australasia. So welcome to all of you and to all the delegates. As we've already heard this morning from Greg, it's been a great 2 days already. So we had the IRCP in here Monday, Tuesday, which was great, talking about rural and remote health, and some of the references today from Lance are really topical given what we've been talking about there. I had the pleasure of spending 2 days at the Research Academy Network event just next door here. Fantastic for me to be there for that session and to hear the great sharing and learnings around the 10 steps for improving cardiac arrest survival to discharge. Some really great, exciting innovations and developments, and really inspiring to see some of the really great things that are going on across the world and sharing. This morning we had the Women in Leadership breakfast, and well done to the 3 speakers and to Bridget who handled that. Great guys, great to hear from you, and particular welcome to 2 new Australasian ambulance CEOs at CEA for the first time in those roles. So Michelle Fife from Western Australia, St John, and to Judith Barker from Northern Territory, St John. So welcome to both Judith and to Michelle. Good to have 2 women amongst the men in the CEO group. Thank you. I just want to mention 3 things that I decided to say this morning very quickly. And firstly, equity. So we've heard from Lance this morning. It's been a big topic for us in St John for a few years. In fact, in my previous role, we talked about equity quite a lot, but we didn't really do much about it. I think the challenge from Lance today was really to get beyond the rhetoric and sort of the posters on the walls in the executive team's office. So I think we're trying to do something about that, but I think it's all in St John, but it's always reliant on having good information and having good confronting information in front of you to challenge your management team about what you're doing. And we've got some really great examples. So Bridget and Verity from our clinical audit and research team who are here today presented last week to our senior team around AED, access to AEDs across New Zealand, where they were based. And we found that, unsurprisingly, the 61 areas of highest deprivation in New Zealand, well, we don't have any AEDs. Pretty shocking, really, because St John, we've got a massive footprint for fundraising across New Zealand, and we could buy 61 AEDs tomorrow, probably, if we told those communities and our local St John people. So what are we going to do about that, to making sure that people have got equal access? It's not just about AEDs, is it? It's a lot more than that, but it's a start. And I think increasingly we're asking ourselves, what are we going to do as an organisation to improve equity to our services? So a really good challenge there. And equally, with access to healthcare, as Lance showed out around health transport, we all know this, access to GPs, people can't afford transport, can't afford petrol, whatever it is, and we know that St John can play a huge role in that. And increasingly, we're transporting, at the moment, 100,000 people a year to hospital clinics and appointments for free with our volunteer drivers across New Zealand. That's a fantastic achievement. We want to do more and more of that and really show that we are committed to improving equity. So we're about to finalise an equity scorecard to really hold ourselves accountable for the equity of services we're providing across New Zealand. We can do much, much better. I'd be interested to see, I think Tony Walker yesterday showed some, I can't remember if it was cardiac arrest survival, Tony, but we were talking about, I think it was actually levels of CPR, public CPR, wasn't it, by area in the Victoria, and looking at the variances there and what can we do about some of that stuff. So great stuff. So equity is a big one for us. We're going to really focus on that. Second one is what we'd call holding a mirror up to ourselves as organisations. And I think events like this, I think the ambulance sector is particularly good at not being complacent. And one of the words I've been talking to my team about, and we've been talking ourselves about, is not being complacent. And when I talk about complacency, I mean, when you've been around for a long time, it's very easy to get into that trap of, well, we've been there, done that, we've seen it all before. But actually, I think the ambulance sector is particularly good at avoiding being complacent. That applies to us as individuals, as leaders too. Many leaders in this room, we've got a responsibility to be accountable, but also to avoid being complacent. And I think that both as individuals, clinicians, leaders, organisations, and I think some of the benchmarking we're seeing done across CAA is providing that opportunity to really make sure we aren't complacent and that we do hold a mirror up to ourselves. And finally, to be future focused, we had a great opportunity in St John's exec team to spend 2 days at the Commonwealth Bank Innovation Lab in Sydney about 9 weeks ago. It was a big thing to do because it was a big call to make, actually, to send most of our team across to Sydney for 2 days, how it might be seen by others, along with the Western Australian executive St John team. Spent 2 days together talking about innovation and learning and how could we share best practice, and that was facilitated by the Commonwealth Bank of Australia. And one thought that came out of that, apart from we learned a lot about what we can do better in St John, back to that complacency issue and about being accountable, was around, we had a presentation from a woman called Nancy Rademacher, who's a futurologist or a futurist. She gave us 220 slides in 90 minutes. Now, I could do that just about. 190 maybe. She held us spellbound. This was 3 a.m. in Holland, and she held us spellbound for 90 minutes. And I recommend. In fact, she's going to speak to our 90 senior managers in about 2 weeks for the same presentation. It was that good. We're not paying for it. We got sponsored. Thank you. Very expensive. Anyway, but Nancy was absolutely brilliant. If someone can hold you spellbound for 90 minutes with 220 slides, there's something special about that. But one slide stood out for me. Of all the slides, it was about technology and about the future of healthcare, where it's going, and the responsibility we've got as organisations to go with it, but also make sure we get the basics right. Because we talked about culture of excellence yesterday, because it's not just about the technology, it's about underpinning that with a culture of excellence. But Nancy, one of her slides really stuck out for me because she talked about organisations. She had a graph, a bar chart, said organisations are supposed to spend around 70% on today, around 20% on tomorrow, and around 10% on the day after tomorrow. 70, 20, 10. Today, tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. And you can decide when the day after tomorrow is, but let's say 3 to 4 years. But so what happens in reality is organisations spend 95% on today and 5% on tomorrow, and no time on the day after tomorrow. That was quite an instructive slide. But she finished, if I may be slightly controversial, vaguely, she finished it with a big box in the left-hand corner. But unfortunately, she said, most organisations spend even more time on soy. I think Tony's here. Are you here, Tony? There's a good slide, wasn't it, Tony? And what's soy? Shit of yesterday. And I thought she's right. But I think the ambulance sector has finished spending time on the shit of yesterday. Sorry, the stuff of yesterday. That's right, it's reworded now, the stuff of yesterday, sorry. We aren't focusing too much on the stuff of yesterday. We're focusing on today, tomorrow, and increasingly on the day after tomorrow. And I think the ambulance sector is absolutely well placed to really keep developing, innovating, and moving forward. What an exciting time for our sector. And of course, the other point that I've learned in my time back in New Zealand is we don't have to do it all by ourselves. We can't do it we don't need to lead it. We can share, learn, and partner. We can't do it by ourselves. We've got to share, learn, and partner. So that's my little words. Thank you all. I hope you have a great 2 days. And we've got a great night tonight with the gala dinner, as Greg's mentioned. In particular, nice to say, to acknowledge 3 of our departing CEOs, Ross, Tony, and Jason. So enjoy the conference. Patience at the centre of all we do. We're going to have a great time, and we're going to learn lots, and we're going to take it back. Thank you.